If you've been on my channel for a couple of months, I think you would know that there's this guy named J.S. Abuick, and he's been relentlessly just commenting "Can you do Godsmack" over and over on my videos. He never disappoints me on how consistent he is with his comments, so I'm just gonna do that so I can get it out of the way. It's almost become like a meme in my community at this point, and it's become so viral that even other people have suggested doing it. This guy doesn't count though, he's my friend. He does videos with me sometimes on my gaming channel. So I'll just get right into this video, no intro, no nothing. Godsmack started in 1995 in Lawrence, Massachusetts when Sully Erna, Robbie Merrill, Lee Richards, and Tommy Stewart created a band called The Scam. Despite being a drummer, Sully has done vocals for Godsmack ever since it started. And in fact, he was actually in a couple of bands before Godsmack. One notable example would be Malaya Rage. The band went under the name The Scam for as long as it takes to make a demo, and they quickly changed it to Godsmack after they made it. And even though they were heavily influenced by Alice in Chains, their name did not come from the Alice in Chains song Godsmack. It actually came from one of the band members coming in one day with a sore on their lip, and then a little while later, one of the other band members got a sore on their lip. And because of the funny coincidence, they said that God had smacked them. In 1996, Lee had to leave the band after discovering that he had a 6-year-old child, and he was replaced by Tony Rambola. And Tommy left the band due to personal differences. The band recorded their first album under the name Godsmack, All Wound Up, in 1997. The album came out surprisingly good, only having $2,600 to work with. And since they had no drummer, Sully ended up doing double the work, doing the drums and vocals, before they got a drummer named Joe DeArco. The album was played almost nightly by a DJ named Rocco, who did DJ stuff for WAAF. In fact, because of him, their song Keep Away rose to #1 on the charts. The band also barged into a Newbury Comics one day and asked if their record could be sold there, in those little weird CD slot thingies, and they said yes. And that fueled a pretty significant fire, considering every time you go to Newbury Comics, you always see those goblins digging through the albums trying to find their favorite bands. Anyways, Tommy really wanted to be in a band again, so they dismissed Joe DeArco so Tommy could come back. In the same year, Godsmack was signed to Universal Records, and they also headlined their first tour. They were also part of the lineup in Ozzfest 1999 with some familiar faces and some faces I'll maybe cover later. And around this time, they were also very respected for bringing metal into an age of electronic music. And as time passed, their self-titled album got onto the Billboard 200 at spot 23. And in 2000, they were back in the studio to record the album Awake, which they got a Grammy for. This album was another huge deal for them considering it got on number 5 on the Billboard 200 this time. And they were also back at Ozzfest with more familiar faces. Then in 2002, Sully was asked to make music for the movie The Scorpion King, which was a bad movie. In this same year, Tommy was replaced with my boy Shannon Larkin. And with the power of the Larkings of Shannon, they made Faithless in 2003. And this album sold nearly 300,000 copies in a week. Not only that, they got their second Grammy from this album. And in 2004, with Dr. Facilier or something, they made their EP, The Other Side. It was an acoustic EP with a lot of slow songs, and they even made an acoustic tour just to promote it. And in 2006, they made their album 4. What a name. And in 2007, they made an album that compiled all of their greatest songs called Good Times, Bad Times, 10 Years of Godsmack, which is named after the Led Zeppelin song Good Times, Bad Times. And by that time, everybody was kind of like done. Nobody really wanted to do anything anymore, so they just stopped. But have no fear, Shannon Larkin is here, as in 2008 he announced that they were going to make a new album. They had even released a song that didn't belong to an album called Whiskey Hangover. And after taking that 3-year hiatus, they came out with their album The Oracle in 2010. They did make a live album in 2012, but I don't really care who even listens to those. And they also announced that in 2013 they were going to take a break again. But in 2014 they released 1,000 Horsepower. And you could tell that the numbers were decreasing because they used to sell hundreds of thousands of copies, and in later albums they could barely rack up half of that. Then in 2016 they left Universal Records to go to BMG. And in 2018 they made their album When Legends Rise. They had to postpone their Europe tour in 2018 due to Tony's son unfortunately passing away. And it was rescheduled to 2019. And when Sully got onto iHeartRadio in 2021, he said that there was another album in the making. Another acoustic EP was also going to release in the same year. But the album and EP were not released until 2023. But it was confirmed that that was their last album, as Shannon and Tony had left in 2024. But Sully, in recent years, has actually teased to add a secret 10th album. So, fingers crossed for that, Godsmack fans. You're going to need that luck.